Playable races, a hot button topic, something that a lot of people care about. We've got, the classics out there. People have been wanting Vrykul for a long time, Tuskarr, you name it. There's a group of people out there who want to have it. Vrykul and Naga have been up front lately, especially with the Midnight expansion coming around the corner. New data reveals the possible playable races in the saga. Let's see what this one is all about.
Some incredibly interesting new data on playable races combined with actual data mine models paints a much clearer picture on who we could be playing next in the World Soul Saga. It is now obvious that no one cares about the Earthen, with only 0.2% people playing them.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, though, it's way down here at the bottom behind my head. You guys can't even see it, but and the ad is in the way. But to be fair, Earthen have only been around for, the least amount of time, but I don't imagine they'll ever get to the level of, say, I don't know what another added door, Zandalari trolls. You'll never see as many Earthen as you do see Zandalari trolls.
But seeing that a
Just they don't fit the lore the same way. They're not as demanded.
Behind the scenes in the middle of the World Soul Saga, it does seem like Blizzard is accommodating popular requests and actual evidence on their audience. Elves are insanely popular, so a new type of an elf or a Naga seems very likely. Humans are also incredibly popular.
To me, if they add Naga into the game, it'll most likely be like a visage form transformation type of race, a lot like the Drakthir that we've seen or the Worgen, things like that. And a one issue that solves is whenever they've added playable races into the game, the armor has to be able to fit them properly. That's always been an issue. Well, Blizzard kind of took the easy way out with Drakthir when they said, yeah, you know what, we're just not going to put armor on them. You can wear the armor in your visage form, but otherwise you're just not wearing armor. So I think, Naga can work the same way. You'll be able to see the shoulders, but beyond that, nothing else.
Likely, humans are also incredibly popular, making Vrykul a massive possibility to be playable quite soon. Furthermore, we have data mine information for the Ethereals.
The Vrykul are interesting to me because they have really cool lore, obviously, Northrend origins, Titan origins, stuff like that. So the Vrykul would be a cool race to me.
Some possibilities for the Amani trolls coming at midnight. So let's combine everything we currently know and what playable race is next, because it looks like exciting times are ahead. So while new playable races are definitely coming, I've already opened a second channel for Raid where I've released over a dozen videos, and currently so much is going on in the game with a new legendary champion that is completely
Where's my
free,
raid sponsorship?
The wonder that you can get by simply logging in right
Why haven't they given me money yet?
With my link below, or if you scan the QR code on the screen. Alice's adventure is still active with 5 brand new legendaries from the coolest stories like the Queen of Hearts, the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, and Alice, that you can of course get by just logging in completely free for the next 7 days. I've already finished this event up. She's currently one of my main characters, and you can check out my review I've made on her on my second channel. At the moment, I'm a mid-game player myself with over 20 level 60s, but if you're just starting out,
20 level
on
60s.
how you can start, how you can avoid some mistakes that I made when I first started playing. You'll be able to advance much quicker from campaigns to dungeons to clan boss and arenas, so that you can get into late game content where it gets really fun. Best of all, Raid is cross-platform, so you can play it anywhere.
Play it on your phones, boys.
Or just scan the QR code on the screen and you will get the legendary hero Alice and 2 epic ones for free only with my link. You will get Tagore immediately upon signing up, and you will also get Ugo at level 15 with a whole bunch of stuff in between. Plus,
a lot of shit.
Promo code Monkey King to get another free legendary Sun Wukong. So check out Raid and check out my second channel, Doran's Arena.
Talk about Murlocs. You guys are getting into it about Murlocs being a playable race. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Playable race type videos for years, often based on some of the data mine models that we've discovered,
Ethereals.
various hints, but for the first time we have some actual very interesting data that we can kind of cross-examine with the teams of the next 2 expansions and actual data mine models, and we have the most likely
this one right here, I mean, with the new Ethereal, this looks so damn good too with the armor and everything. The new Ethereal's models tell me that we're gonna get these guys as playable races. I think that's almost a guarantee at this point. Now, I will say I've been proven wrong on this theory before with the Tuskarr when they got their new fleshed out models and all the customizations they got in Dragonflight. I was like, oh shit, we're getting it, guys. Playable Tuskarr by the end of Dragonflight. Now, who knows? Maybe the end of the last Titan expansion or beginning of it when we go back to Northrend. I don't know. But at this point, usually, when a race gets a fully new customizable skeleton, that usually means they're going to become a playable race. I think these Ethereals going to be playable.
races that we're going to see in the next expansion. Recently, a chart came out that gave some really shocking data on who are the most playable races, and some results, while sort of expected...
You know what the craziest thing to me about this chart was, and I said it the last time we looked at it? Worgen and Volpera here sitting at a combined, what is this, 2.94, that would be a, 4.9, say, 5.4%. You know what that tells me? 5.4% of the player base is furries. That's crazy. And then, like I said before, you could add Drakthir in there and make it, they're another 1.9% here, 2.1. That's giving you, 5, 6, 7, about an 8, 9% of the player base is furries or scalies? That's crazy. That's a lot of fetishes in this game.
Who are the most playable races, and some results, while sort of expected, are definitely crazy. For example, we've learned that 15% of all WoW players are playing the Blood Elves, while only 0.2% of the players are playing the Earthen, which gives us the impression that the Blood Elves are 50 times more popular than the Earthen. Also, some races like the Drakthir are...
Also, I mean, interestingly enough, the Earthen were more played on the Horde than the Alliance, and that makes sense. It's their only Dwarven race. Whereas the Alliance, you got the regular dwarves, the Dark Iron dwarves, and now these guys. So, I mean, yeah, I think we've been over-dwarfed on the Alliance side, so not a lot of people are playing them.
Still not doing that well, and even some really old races like the Pandaren are barely played up to this day. Literally, when we combine the Night Elves, the Blood Elves, the variations of all the elves, like every third WoW player is some type of an elf. And why am I talking about this? I got a whole video examining this data. I feel like this kind of data is actually indicative of what content Blizzard is making and planning to make, and that is because it obviously makes sense. I mean, did you notice the crazy amount of detail that was given to the Night Elves recently, the second most popular race? Why their capital was burned out of all the capitals, why they're the only ones that got a brand new capital with a brand new island. It makes sense that they would push content for the most playable.
I still think Darnassus is by far and away way better city than what we currently have. It's very sad what's happened with the Night Elves. My first character ever in this game was a Night Elf. It was Night Elf Hunter named Sandman. Still remember, I wanted to be Legolas. That's why I made him. It's sad. It's sad where the Night Elves are currently.
If that is what people are actually playing, I mean, this might be exactly why the next expansion is literally a Blood Elf expansion focusing on the most played WoW race, and we are getting a new capital for them as well. Why is the Void even invading a Quel'Thalas in the first place when the focus is on the Sword of Sargeras? That is a good question. There is a plausible theory that they're doing this because they know most people are playing these races and will be more interested in seeing their own races updated.
True.
However, if you think about this theory, I mean, the question that
the Midnight expansion is an Elven expansion. Blizzard's already talked about that many times. So yeah, giving us an Elven race during that expansion, like the Naga, which already play on Elves, yeah, be a popular one for sure.
If that theory is plausible, then why are we currently in an expansion focused on the least popular played race of all time, the Earthen? And I think the answer to that is because big changes obviously happen at Blizzard, nearly 180-degree turn that we've all witnessed in the middle of the development. It is no surprise that Blizzard has really started, actually coordinating things and getting themselves together. I mean, you might have noticed recently, especially the past year, that their reputation online is also on the rise as well. After Chris Metzen returned, the leadership changed, key figures were fired. I mean, realistically, prior for the past 5 years, I mean, Blizzard has just been doing whatever. I feel like
they talk about shit story in a microcosm, this fucking picture right here. But yeah, Metzen's return certainly changed the story. He talked about it, that he had to kind of curtail Dragonflight towards the end a little bit, bend the War Within to fit into his World Soul Saga, and then we're going to have Midnight and The Last Titan, which are basically fully Metzen realized storytelling coming. So I think the story is only going to get better. And you could say you didn't like maybe the Mythic Plus season of the War Within so far, whatever it is. The storytelling to me has been pretty damn good.
Someone else had a different idea and direction, and they had like no idea what they were even doing, whether they were going left, whether they were going right. Like, we got the cinematic for Nathanos at the start of Shadowlands that he never shows up. We get hints that this person is a villain.
Biggest fucking simp failure ever. Where the hell is he now? He's still in the mall? That's what happens. This is a simp's a cautionary tale. Don't be a simp or you end up for an eternity in the mall while your girl's running around with somebody else.
We get hints that this person is a villain, that it never
Don't be a
follows
simp.
up. We were told that we would see the troll ancestors in Dragonflight. That never happened. So it really felt like the leadership at the time was planning expansions based on like what type of launch they had that day. Because of that, it is so obvious that Chris Metzen really started getting involved with the end of the War Within and then the next two expansions. He really, as we know, came in during Dragonflight, but as we always know with Blizzard, their schedule, they're always working with expansions a few years into the future. So it's almost certain that the War Within was already half finished by the time Chris Metzen came in. You might remember the news were talking about how a new saga is starting, even back at the end of Shadowlands, and we had no idea what he actually meant. I think you can see this with a really strange direction. I mean, things are going from Kazlagar to Quel'Thalas to Northrend. I feel like they're kind of connecting this after they already started working on something entirely different. So realistically, the other were probably just a random spur of the moment. However, the next two expansions, realistically, let's be real. I mean, most people are actually excited about them a lot more than they are for the War Within. And
yeah, in terms of story, I do think the next two expansions are the most exciting. We're getting some big lore reveals that have been like years in the making. So certainly, yes, Midnight and the Last Titan, when you're talking about lore, that is the most exciting stuff.
Seems like they are a lot more well thought out and planned based on actual data and not just random whims. I mean, they're focusing on the races that are the most played and popular. They're pushing the Void, which is one of the most sought after expansion teams, very popular within the community. Then we're going into Northrend, which was undeniably the most popular continent in WoW of all time because
it's the Lich King.
It's obvious that these decisions aren't just like, you know, let's discover this random isle of the shore or whatever, but this is what people actually like what they know based on evidence. Because of that, I think they will also plan the future on what playable races will be added to the game, and we can not only use this data chart, but we can also use hints that we currently have in the game, as well as data mine models on who these races could be.
Man, that looks like one badass ethereal rogue. This is such a cool look. Or ethereal hunter. Could you imagine an ethereal hunter with like a spectral tiger pet? Oh my god. What a great combo.
These races could be. I personally don't think Blizzard really likes this chart. I mean, who would want to make and build an entire new race that literally 1 in every 200 WoW players is playing? This is not what brings people to come and spend money on the game. Not many people are going in like, damn, I really can't wait to get back to WoW so I can play these reskinned dwarves. However, I can see people saying like, wow, Vrykul are now playable, I want to get back into WoW, or Naga, or the Ogres, for example. So without yapping any further, let's actually discuss what seems very likely for the next two expansions. So, despite the fact that we are in the middle of the War Within and close to closure, there is still a possibility another playable race can be added even in this expansion. It's not out of question. You have seen or heard about the
it'll probably be the Horonir if we get a playable race out of this. Yes, it'll be the Avatar Night Elves. Unfortunately, I don't find them that compelling. I feel like we kind of missed the boat. I feel like the Botani, if you know what those guys are, they're like the plant people. I think those would have been a much cooler Rootlands tie-in, and then we could have played as them. They're actually like a Zandalari troll skeleton, if you've ever seen them. Those would have been, to me, a cooler race than what we're going to get with the Horonir.
Which have a lot of data,
it is what it is.
They will without a doubt be a big part of the story, even if they're playable in 11.1.5 or 11.2. However, I still don't think, based on the reception that people got during the expansion, that people really care all that much about this race. It just doesn't have this, you know...
Yeah, these guys. I would have rather had these guys, man. If I can zoom in here, can I zoom? Well, magnify image. Yeah, these guys. This would have been a much better race. I mean, look at them. These are badasses, man. I wish we had gotten these instead, because to me this is like a more, I don't know, better tie into the Rootlands and a cooler looking race than what we're gonna get out of these Night Elf guys.
Shocking factor to it. However, it
Give me
still
Murlocs.
isn't ruled out. I mean, there's still a possibility. Another big possibility are the Ethereals. You can check out my full video on this because there is evidence, a ton of evidence. But
Wrong planet. Yeah, they're from Draenor, but I feel like you could have tied them in some way. You know, I don't know, roots. They all of a sudden they're there. I don't think it would have been that out of this world to find that out.
What a bit of evidence is a crazy revamp to the Ethereals that happened recently. Ethereals in general have been foreshadowed to be important in the saga for the past few years, with them constantly following us in the background. However, a month or two back, we data-mined a crazy amount of updated model work for the Ethereals. They got a ton of
cool,
actual naked models, customizations, different types of bandages, different types of faces, different types of energies that emanate from them, as well as a whole bunch of other customizations, which definitely
these
lean
look awesome.
to the side of them being potentially playable. Now, I know this is not exactly the most
They do look awesome, but I do want to say I kind of wish they would have kept this stance. This is such like a classic ethereal stance. You know, like everybody knows these from the days that we went to Netherstorm and everything and saw them. They kind of changed the stance a little bit, and maybe that's for armor to fit better or something, but this stance is so classic, man. I kind of wish they still stood like this.
Being potentially playable. Now, I know this is not exactly the most popular, most sought out after race, but it is an interesting choice. I mean, it is definitely more...
By the way, if their racial is not an ability to transmog their own gear or transmog other people's gear, then I don't want ethereals in the game. One of their racials needs to be the ability to transmog, for sure.
Interesting than the Earthen. It is also a race from around the peak of WoW, which was TBC, and something that would also be quite different from some of these reskin type races, because the Ethereals are very unique compared to any other race that is currently playable. In regards to them, I mean, it is possible that they could just be setting them up for the War Within, the finale of the War Within, but also for Midnight, when the actual expansion will be fully focused on the Void and the Void. Now, in regards to Midnight, in general, ideally, Amani trolls are going to be a big part of the zone, which could
As
make
they
these
should.
types of trolls playable.
I mean, some people might be saying, why would the Amani trolls all of a sudden be a thing again? Their history is side by side tied with the elves, specifically the high elves who later became the blood elves. The Amani trolls are directly tied to that, the Amani wars and all the shit that happened back in the past. So yes, I think the Amani trolls will become relevant again. I love their lore. I love their raid. I mean, who doesn't want to ride a tiger mount at the end of the day? I do hope the Amani trolls become a playable race as well. I think that'd be a really cool addition, even if it's just the Horde.
Interesting enough, based on the chart, the troll races are kind of the higher mid-range when it comes to popularity, but people do seem to like the Zandalari, for example, that you can definitely say look pretty badass, just appearance-wise.
I mean, not only do they look badass, their lore, I mean, the Zandalari trolls, everybody has known from before we ever saw them. There was that epic background lore. The Zandalari Empire was the greatest troll empire to have ever existed in Azeroth. So, of course, with that big lore tie-in, yes, everybody wanted to play Zandalari trolls, and when they became available, of course they're going to be popular.
A Horde race, the Amani, could be a possibility.
Eat your seeds, yes.
However, for the Alliance, another elf variation could totally be possible if they really decide to go the lazy route, but the Naga are definitely not ruled out. I mean, recently, there was a lot of foreshadowing, if you've been following the lore, with Ashara
Queen
returning
Azhara is
very
coming
soon,
back.
and how not all of the Nagas seem to follow her and her crazy void plan, and a big part of them in Nazjatar are just left to their own devices without a leader. Furthermore, there is big talk of a massive Elven reunion in Quel'Thalas in Midnight, which could actually make Naga playable. Keep in mind, these guys are literally elves evolved by the old gods. Maybe with N'Zoth gone, their form could be toned down and they can make new models that would be more playable with a shape.
That makes sense. If you just look at the lore, yes, maybe with the old gods kind of gone and things like that, yeah, that they would be able to, you know, switch back and forth between their elven form. That'd be an easy lore tie-in to make these guys playable.
Be more playable with a shapeshift type form for swimming. I think this would be a very interesting, very well popular playable race because they have been playable back in Warcraft 3, and the Naga are definitely highly requested within the community. Now, personally, I would definitely also like to see ogres, but so far, I mean...
Every time I make a playable races video, the ogres come up in the comments as like, when are we finally going to get them? Because they were originally, believe it or not, a classic race. And then the trolls got added in and they swapped in for the ogres instead. But yeah, I thought we would have gotten ogres back in WoD, honestly. Back with High Maul and everything coming out, I thought the ogres were going to become a playable race, but it would never happen.
Practically nothing in the World Soul Saga makes them relevant in any way, so I think this is...
Probably would have been better than the Magar Orcs, to be honest, as an allied race, but didn't happen.
Very likely not an option. However, for the finale of the World Soul Saga, we have a really popular and interesting option as we are going into revamped and very likely enlarged Northrend, where we have two highly requested races. Most importantly, the Vrykul that are an incredibly popular option, but also the Tuskarr. Now, to not yap here mindlessly based on the data, it is definitely a little bit weird. I mean, humans are the third most popular race with over 10% of players.
That's what I play. That's right. It's the best race in the game. The armor fits the best. They have the best animations. They are the best. Humans are the best. And all of you fucking humans in chat right now who you know always talk shit about me playing a human, why are you talking shit about yourself? Be yourself. That's right. That's why I play a human. I love playing a human. I'll probably only ever play humans going forward. Elves are the best. Yeah. Yeah. Pointy-eared humans, basically.
So a spin-off
They're not
of
boring.
much cooler looking humans would be a very popular option. However, we did get larger humans, the Cultirans, and they're just not that popular at all based on this data as well. I mean, Cultirans are nearly 10 times less popular than the
Where are they? Oh, they're all the way down behind my head here, 1.5%. You see them Cultirans 1.5%. That's interesting. I thought they'd be more.
Humans, and I think a big part of it is really their look. I mean, a lot of people see the Cultirans as just large and fat humans, while they see the Vrykul as like a badass Viking type human, which is why I think a Vrykul would be much more popular.
I think it would too.
They also got their history tied to the Titans, tied to the Scourge and everything, and it would be a very popular option in like a let's go back to Northrend, Wrath of the Lich King 2.0 expansion, which would be like the pinnacle of nostalgia bait to sell this expansion. Other option I mentioned are the Tuskarr, but I'm really not certain on them anymore. I mean, they did get a massive update in Dragonfight, but they weren't playable in the end, even though it was possible that they could be. But I think while this is also a popular option...
I think it's gotta happen eventually. Taliesin might have an aneurysm if they don't make Tuskarrs playable soon.
I don't know how to put it simply, like these goofy
Tuskarr, fat and ugly.
Just...
They're Pandaren. The new Tuskarr are based in the Pandaren skeleton, which is why they could easily become a playable race because all the armor has already been built to fit them. What the hell is that horde hype? What the heck?
Don't seem to be that popular, which is evident with the data, like with the Pandaren are barely being played despite being in the game for 15 years. So I'm not certain how much people would really be excited about this. However, based on the data and the data mine information and the teams, we do have a relatively narrow amount of potential playable races for the World Soul Saga. Of course, you know, Blizzard can always surprise us and come up with something completely new. I mean, there is a possibility we discover a completely new race on Evaloran that is unlike any other, something related to the Titan Forged or something with this new Anati Kingdom, but so far some of the evidence is for the Haronir, Ethereals, Amani Trolls, Naga, Elf variations, as well as the Vrykul. Thanks for watching. Check out my video on Anduin finally returning as the King of the Alliance by clicking on the screen, and check out my raid channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Interesting video, and one reason why I think this will probably happen, you know, a lot of these races, whether or not they all come in, whether or not it's just one or the other, is it's a really, really easy way for Blizzard to bring people back into the game. If somebody's taken a break, if somebody's always been a Vrykul fan or a Naga fan or a Tuskarr fan, and they decided to unsub, guess what happens when you decide to finally bring the race into the game that they've been wanting to play as all along? They fucking resub. It's an easy resub button. It's also an easy race swap. You know, people pay for race changes when this shit happens, so it's an easy moneymaker for Blizzard. Will they do it? That's the question. I think the lore fits in with Vrykul and Naga coming in. We'll see if it actually ends up happening.